Hi everyone, it's Deb from Project Life Deb's Way again. I've just got another layout to actually show you, and it's from the 13 Arts paper line, and it's called Memory Lane. It's absolutely gorgeous. It has beautiful sort of monotone flowers with the burgundy, and it was a lovely paper line to work with. I'll just give you a quick look at what the layout looks like, so you know what the tutorial. I'll give a more in-depth look at this before I start making the cards. I will have the cutting sheets for you where I've cut my papers and that, and I will give a description below of where you can find those to download. So I do hope you enjoy this tutorial, and I will be doing the cards from start to finish. I'll give you a more in-depth look at the layout so you can have a real good look before we start making the cards. So let's get on with making our cards. As promised, here's a sneak peek at the finished layout. I've popped the cards into the plastic sleeve system just to make it easier for this video. I will put all my wording and journaling and everything once the video is finished, and then I can pop it into my album. So before we get on with making the cards, I'll give you a short intro on the papers and everything I've used to make this layout, like all the chevrons and things like that. So with no further ado, let's get on with the fun. Here we have the paper line that I'll be using for this layout. It's from 13 Arts again, and I know I've been using these papers a lot, but I've found that they're just the right size for doing my project life, and I've also found that I don't need any ephemera and things because these pads have a lot of that type of thing within the actual pad, so they are very, very good value. Just to give you a sneak peek of the papers, I'll show you these sides first, and as you can tell, this is the one sheet where I cut a lot of my fussy cutting from. So I'll just give you a really through, and then of course when you flip it, I'll show you the backs of the papers, and I did use this strip across here. I used, isn't that lovely? And then you've got, I used all of this sheet on this side to give me my bold colour, and you've got more flowers and things that you can do cuttings from. And the flowers aren't too big, so when you're doing your project life, what I liked about this is the writing goes every which way, so there's no really true way. I used a few of the words in this, but that was about all. And on the back cover you have all your tags and things that you can use, or words and everything else, so they are really a complete little package all of their own. With this, I introduced, it's by Kaisercraft, and it's called Weave, and it's sort of a grey green, and I did introduce this colour brown because it really suits the colour tonings of this. And what I have done with this, I used a die cut, and I just cut some leaves and things. Because most of the leaves are in white, it just needed a little bit more colour lift. I then cut with one of my very old die cuts. I love chevrons, I always have done. So what I did, I cut them in chipboard, and I've pushed all of the pieces out of the centres like that, and I've cut the chevrons to make like 3 chevrons all up, but I did keep these because I will actually be inking these with gold and actually layering them up with a little gold brad, which I will insert into them just to give me a little bit of texture to my layout. But they're the only extras besides my sturdy old book pages I've added to give me a different colour palette. So that's the papers I will be using to make my cards. And as normal, on my Facebook group, Projectlife Dev's Way group, I will be giving everybody pictures of these cutouts, and it actually tells you every size sheet to cut and what ephemera I cut as well, and also the white cards and the Kaiser Craft Dove paper, just to help you if you are making okay, we're on to card 1. Now, from my cutting instructions, on this here family tree there is a wood strip which I have cut a 1.5 strip across the top and then another strip straight across, and I've used this second strip here, which I've just divided into half, to give me this wood strip here that's running, the grains running lengthwise, if you're following along. I have used here, if you have a look at the directions, the left hand bottom corner, and I'm just using this as a background colour to just lift my card that little bit. And I've edged all my edges in black this time because it's very monochrome. It just actually gives it a little bit of a lift, and I've edged all of my flowers in brown. So I'm just going to attach this down, and this card is 5 3/4 by 3 1/4, so it has that little border that runs all the way around evenly. It's roughly a 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Now onto that base card, I am going to attach the little dove pieces. Now this has come from my dove here, and I have cut just a strip at 5 1/2 by 1 3/4 straight down the 6-inch side, and then I trimmed it up to 5 1/2 by 1 3/4. And once again, I'm going to get this card, and it should just have, once again, that little 1/8 of an inch border straight down, and I have just put that 1/4 of an inch from the bottom. Now I've edged my wood grain piece, and I'm just checking to make sure with that writing that it runs the right way. Now I cut the wood grain piece down to 5 1/4 by 1 1/2, and that will fit absolutely in the center of your little dove card, so that you've got the border again working around. Now I cut one of my tags, which came from the tag, which is this one here, and I cut just around my tag the exact right size. I've got papers going everywhere here, and that is going to go slightly crooked on the angle and inside. And once again, you can actually see how that black edging is actually working to give you texture and make it look, you've got everything mounted, though you haven't used mounting tape, because that's important with your albums. You don't use too much mounting tape, otherwise you have very thick albums. Now my flower, I have cut from my cut apart sheet one of the full rows here, and I'm going to just get that nicely placed. And I have die cut some, just 2 different leaves in that brown, like that, and all I'm going to do is just pop those underneath before I attach my mounted piece. And that just gives you that little bit of texture again, and make sure that our leaf doesn't overshadow our writing. So once you've got those pieces there, because this is on mounting tape, we can just take our mounting tape off, attach our flower to where we want it to go. Then we can glue our lovely die cuts. If you haven't got this particular leaf, just find something in your stash that you like. And you can move them around and just pop and glue them down. Now if it's a bit too long, just snip a bit off. And there we have. Now I have this time used that chevron die, and I just wanted, because this was quite monochrome, to give it a little something else. So I'm going to just quickly glue these down. If you haven't got chevrons like this, you could just use cut some card and make these little arrows as thick or as wide as you wanted. That is quite easy to do as well, to make your own if you haven't got access to them. Now I'm putting this extra one on the top to just give me that extra chevron, and I have got my brads here, and I will attach my brad. Got that a little bit wonky, so I'll just straighten that up. I'm going to put that right in the middle. Pop that in. Turn my card. Now, if I've ever used brads with my Projectlife, I've always put some tape on the back so that when you put your photographs in your cards into your plastic folders, you won't attach all your brads to everything that you don't want attached. So there we have our first, what I class as our eye candy cards, card number 1. On to card number 2. This is a easy photo mat card that I have done. All I have done, I have got the 6x4 that was cut here, and I've trimmed it down to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4 to give me that little border. And this particular card here came from the beautiful paper, which I have just done a slice all the way down, and I've used that top right hand corner there, and I have used the reverse side, as you can see here, which has all the little florals on. Now I'm going to ink my card so that it matches all the rest and it actually stands out a little bit. Now once again, with my edging with these, I always tend to edge not too much, not grunging right into the center. I just put a little bit around the edges just to give it some definition. So all we have to do now is just attach a little photo card onto the top of the card like that, and that is our card done. Now we're on to card number 3. Now what I actually did from my the Harmony papers, which is using this burgundy, I've just cut a 3-inch strip right across the top, and I've cut 2 3x4 cards here, and I've marked them 5C and 10 and just popped them aside for later so that I could use this little bit of card that was left here to get my little strips. So you just need to cut, and it doesn't matter which way the lines work because it's all just as a background piece. So you just use this little bit of card that's left there. And this piece here, I've cut a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 here from the Romance paper, and my 6 by 4 of course is the card that was already previously cut. And the card that was cut before, you just need to cut a little tiny piece of 1 by 3 1/4 to produce this little bit. I've just cut once again one of my old books, and my book wasn't quite long enough, so all I've done is I've just attached 2 pieces of paper together, sort of lined the print up a little bit because there's cards going on top and nobody would know any difference. So what we are going to do, we've got our 6 by 4 card which I have edged with my black. I am going to attach this down the bottom roughly about 1/8 of an inch from the bottom to give me my border, and we are going to attach this. Hopefully this doesn't rip because I haven't put my tape on yet, as I normally do to speed up my videos. So here we're just going to pop this on here just like that, and it just gives you a bit of texture. Now here is my 3 1/4. Now I wanted my true 3 by 4 photo mat, so I'm just going to pop that straight on. I tend to like to put my photo mats onto their backings because it makes it easier for putting it onto your layout. So that goes on with your 1/8 of an inch border again, and this gets just stuck in the 1/8 of an inch again, because you have to be a bit careful with this measurement because you need to be able to fit that little piece in here. So we're going to attach that. And I've distressed the edges of this as well, and you can see how the little borders are all working in unison, and it just makes a pleasing card to look at. So then we attach our last little strip that we cut right in the middle like that, and of course you'll have your photograph here with just your white edge here, which will bring everything out. Now what I've got here is 4 of my chevrons, which I'm going to put at the top. So I will get my glue. I tend to find a glue is a much better option with this, otherwise you end up with tape absolutely everywhere. So I'm just going to attach that at the top. Then I've got my gold center that came from here. I'm just going to pop that right in the middle like that. I'm going to turn, I'm going to pop my gold brad in like that, turn it over. Tape my backing again Now I've just got one tiny little flower here that I've cut, and if you have a look at my cutting sheet you'll be able to see where I take all my flowers from. And I'm going to stick that on a bit of mounting tape. My little leaves, I've just cut one of my die cut leaves apart. I didn't need a full, I just wanted a couple of little extras. Just like that. So once you actually have your cutting dimensions done for like your photo mats, and the whole card just falls together quite easily. Now we're on to card 4. So I have got from my Dove cardstock, which if you've already pre-cut will come from this sheet here, which is a 6x4. I then have cut here, get this undone, from the Sweet Memories. We've already cut this bottom piece here straight across, so I have just cut at 8 and 4 and ended up with an 8x4 piece, and I've just trimmed that up to 6x4, and you can use any way that this goes. I used it this way because it fitted on the paper more conveniently. So I've trimmed that down to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, so that it gives me that little border all the way around. This particular card here is a 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, because I wanted my two true 3x4 photo mat to actually fit. So that is a 3x4, which if you've cut your cards before, that should be pre-cut. Now with this one, it's just the extra sheet that I've cut in here, so it's 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. Now this particular one, I would attach my tag, which is this tag here, which is exact to size. I've just cut round it, I've distressed the edges, and I'm going to pop this one skew with right over to the corner of the card as far as I can get it, like that. Then I will put this 1/4 inch from the edge centered, and I've distressed the edges of this as well. Then I will put my true 3x4 photo mat in the center of that. Now I've fussy cut a flower which I've distressed in brown, which I'm going to mount on foam tape. Like that, and that will go down the bottom . Now make sure when you're putting foam tape that you actually leave enough that you can get your photographs onto your page. If you've already attached your photographs, well, that isn't a problem, but there we go. Now I'm going to once again carry the theme through with my chevrons, so I'm going to pop a little grouping of them, glue them down once I get my glue to the bottom of my any of the good liquid glues. There's quite a few different types that you can actually get. You've got your quick dry adhesive, you've got the clear, you've got your Tombow, and there also is the 450 quick dry. So there's quite a few different brands that you can actually use, all fit for purpose for the job. At the moment I'm just using up some Tombow, so I'm going to just pop that down like that on the top of the tag, and I will attach my little gold extra on the top just to get a bit of depth. And once again I will just poke my hole, pop my brad in. So every time I use a chevron, I'll always use a brad so that it all looks even when you're looking at your layout as a whole. So we just splay them across, and once again pop my little bit of tape to protect my back. And there we have another beautiful card, all ready to go into your album. Now we're going on to our small 3x4 cards. These are our photo mats, and what I've done here, I have taken my 3x4 of my Dove cardstock. I have also cut, which is these two here that we cut previously before we took that little slice out here, and I've distressed around the edges, and my card is, photo card is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8. So what I've done is, you can actually say I have taken off 1/8 of an inch off of one side and 1/8 of an inch off of the other side, so that you will actually get a tiny little border of a 1/16 inch all the way around. So it's much easier to take off two sides than try. So your actual physical card, if you like to measure, is 3 7/8 by 2 7/8, and then all I've done is I've just taped them down, and there is our cards finished. Edging. So I will do that now because it will make a difference. It will make a difference to what your flowers look like on there. Okay, so we do have this piece which I'm going to attach underneath with a little bit of glue. There we go. We pretend we didn't break that one. So what I'm going to do here is, by putting this on here, you see it gives you, if you have a look, you can actually see it does actually give you a defined edge. Then of course when you put your second mount on, you can actually see it actually gives you a three-dimensional look. And I might just pop those leaves in there. I was undecided about those, whether to do that, but I think I will. And I will pop that one underneath that one to make sure that that one stands up on its own. Now your memory shared, I am going to attach this one flat on my backing. Now as you know, with my backing I've just got some scrap paper that I cut eyeballed, You can cut on your cutter if you wish. I just eyeballed it. And then I'm going to put that onto some foam tape. And I'm going to pop that just going to straighten my cutting up. There we go, that looks better. There we go. I'm going to pop that with just a even border all the way around, and on this side I'm going to pop in a little bit of that foliage. Trim it up as you need it to be and tuck it underneath the other, and there we have our two little 3x4 cards. Now I've just dropped some quick photographs in, as you can tell they're loose, just to give you an idea of what this will look like with your different photographs, because it always does look better with the photographs actually inserted. So we'll get on with our other side. Here we go on to card number 6. Now with this particular card you will be cutting your card from Beautiful Papers, and I have corrected my cutting. You just need to cut from the left hand corner a strip 4 inches down, then cut it into half so you have two 6x4 cards, and the top card with the rows will be number 7 and you will use the bottom card. I have just distressed the edges, so I've got my 6x4 card here. Now we have the pre-cut piece of this card, which you need to trim down to 5 3/4 by 1 3/4, and you don't need to distress the edges on this, and this will be going on the left hand side with an 1/8 of an inch border all the way round. Now from when we cut our strip for card number 1, we had half a strip left there, which we were supposed to put away for card number 6. Now I have trimmed this one down to 5 1/2 by 1 1/2 so that it fits in the center of that dove piece of card, and then that is going to go, and I've distressed the edges on this one as well, smack bang in the middle. Now I have got my 4 1/4 by 3 1/4. Now what this is you will have the top part of this card remaining, so all you need to do is from the top left hand corner measure down 4 1/4, then cut 3 3 1/4 slices there, and you will end up with your 3 3 1/4 by 4 1/4 squares. So you just cut down 4 1/4, so you come down from the left hand, cut right across the page 4 1/4, then you can just slice that 4 1/4 up into 3 1/4 slices, and that will give you your photo mats. Now the photo mat for this is going right up the top, and I'm going to leave an 1/8 of an inch down from the top. Now you have got a pre-cut 3x4 photo mat which goes right in the center of that. Now once you've stuck your 3x4, we will start putting our ephemera on there, and I have foam mounted my flower as normal, and I've just got here my 2 chevrons, 2 arrows, a brad. So what I want to do here is I want to put my flower in this corner with some of the leaves like that, and once you've got that correct, you can start layering that down, and we will just glue with a Tombow glue. Just pop your little ferns in there. Now once again with this one, we are just going to put our brown, just 2 of them. Then I'm going to put the thicker insert down the bottom and leave a gap. I then have the smaller, thinner one, which I'm just going to pop on the top of that chevron to give me some depth. I will get my brad, and I think this time I'm going to put my brad down in this point right in the middle. I will flip, put my hooks over and cover my brad. And there we have card number 6 complete. Here we go on card 7. Now this particular card, you had the pre-cut piece that you cut last time for card 6. You need to use the top square just here. Just ignore my other cutting, but it's this strip that you cut here, which is the piece with the rose. So from there you also have the piece that you cut, the strip that you cut, the 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, and you should have put this aside for card number 7. Now this particular piece needs to go down in the bottom here, and you want that 1/4 inch centered right down in the bottom of the card there, with even borders either side. So just 1/4 inch from the bottom, because you need this width at the top. Now this is your pre-cut photo card of 3x4, so that just gets centered right smack bang in the middle of that photo mat there. Now I just cut a tiny little sheet from my cut apart sheet with all the roses and that I've been cutting. So this piece here is a 2 1/4 by 1 1/4. You just need to distress your edges, and this is going to be just popped just up in the top there, sort of in the middle of the square at the top. So now we're just going to pop our ephemera on there, which I've got a rose which I'm mounting, which is going to go here, and then I've got some foliage I'm going to pop underneath, and I might even Just have a bit of a fiddle here. There we are. That looks quite good. And then I'm going to put here like that. So we'll attach our foliage first. Pop it on. Pop my leaves down. Then I can pop my mounted rose over the top, and because this is glue I can sort of fiddle around with a bit before it gets stuck. Then I will put my chevrons on. And I've got once again my gold. I'm going to whack that right in the middle. Then we just need to pop our brad in. Center at the top. I think the brad's just finished these chevrons off. And seal the back off. So there we have card number 7 done. Now we're on to card number 8, which of course this card here was the strip that we cut here that you've got left over. That's your 4x8, where you need to chop that down to 6x4, but the top piece here needs to be put aside for 10D because you'll be using that tiny piece over there. Now this is cut from the book page, and I've cut a piece that is 3 3/4 by 5, and I've distressed the edges and I'm attaching it to my base card just at the top with 1/8 of an inch. Now this was the put aside card that we have previous cut, that is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4 from the Harmony paper, and we are going to attach this one at the bottom of our card, centered. Now I've just taken a piece of my book page and I've cut that to 3 3/4 by 5 with the writing going portrait way, and I've distressed around the edges and I've put that onto my base card with 1/8 of an inch from the top. Now I found the put aside piece of the Harmony, which is 4 1/4 by 3 1/4, and found the white pre-cut photo mat, which I've put into the center of that. Now this is going on the top 1/4 of an inch from the top, centered like that. Now this is the wood grain that we had actually cut that sits on the top here of the family tree, so you need to just cut a tiny little strip of that, and that strip there is 3 1/4 the same as your Harmony paper, so that when you put it down in the center here, it will actually fit directly underneath your photo mat there that you've got. Now this little piece here was this tiny little strip that we cut, the 1 inch strip extra that we cut, that we put to one side. If you can't find this strip, just use another piece of this paper, that will be fine. And then I have cut that strip down to be, I'm just looking at my measurements here, that is 3 by 1 inch, and I've just distressed around the edge. Now to complete this off, I have got my little cut, I've also got some fernery, and I've also got my 3 chevrons and my brad. And how I'm going to do this is I will get a piece to show you how I actually do my golding. Now I've got a fantastic pad here from, it's Midas from Spectrum Noir. It's a wonderful gold. So all I do is I put my piece on, and I have a dauber here, and I just pat it up and down, and then I gently pick it off, and it does a fantastic antique gold like that. So then I have my brad as well to attach. Now because the card above is very, very similar, I will change the flower to the other side and put my chevrons down this side, just to make a point of difference to my card. So I just need to attach my chevrons down like that, put my gold one, which I think I might sort of, yeah, put it in the middle. And because the chevron is down the bottom, I'm going to put my brad sitting in the top of this one. So I'll pop my brad into my chevrons. It's having a job at poking through here. I would say that I've got crooked. Sometimes this happens with your brads. If that happens, just make your hole a little bit bigger, so you've got more room to play with. Let's hope that works. There we go. Splay my ends. Now with my flower, I'll just put my leaves down. Pop my foliage on. And then I will mount my, and as normal, my mounting tape has disappeared in the mess that my desk is. And I'll just pop my flower on with mounted tape. So there we have card number 8 complete. Okay, here's card number 9, and you'll love this card. All you need to do is to find the pre-cut card that we did when we did card number 1, which is this one here that you pre-cut, which is your 6x4. You just need to distress your edges on that, and find your other white card which came on the second piece of white card stock, which is we cut as a 6x4. So all you need to do is to trim that down to 5 3/4 by 3 3/4, and then all you have to do is center that onto this card, and you've got a beautiful, lovely big photo mat. Okay, so now we're just on to our last of our two, what I class as eye candy cards. So we're going to do 10B first. Now these particular cards here, you can use, just cut a 4-inch strip from that bottom of the family tree paper and cut yourself a 3x4 and a 3x4 on both corners, and that will suffice to give you your 2 sheets. This one, I've got some flowers, but as you can tell, I cover them over anyway. So I've cut a piece of my book page paper, and that actually measures at 1 3 3/4, and the writing is landscape orientated, and I've just distressed the edges like that. I have cut the flower out, and the flower comes from this corner piece here, and this flower, it comes from this corner here, and this flower comes from here, and I've just cut around both, and they're both foam mounted. I have some fernery here and some fernery here, and I've also got these chevrons, and I know for a fact I haven't got any of the brads, so I'll just grab one out of my, and of course I'll grab a yellow one, of course, out of my stash. So I've cut one of the tags from the tag sheet, which is this one here, and I've cut it exact, and I have not edged the edge, so I'll do that right now, just very quickly around the edge. So this particular one I've just cut around, and as you know, it's at the bottom of the page, but that doesn't matter, because what I will do is I will just pop that to the bottom, and I'm just going to attach my fernery here at the top, and my chevrons I am going to pop here with my gold one over the top. So I'll just get everything sort of where I want it to be. So I will get my little glue, and play with my little fernery. Put my chevrons on. And because with this one it's got a lot of white area, I think I might just make myself another one of those little chevrons. And I'm going to pop that one down at the bottom. Now my brad, because I've put this at the bottom, I will get my stick that nicely, put it right in the bottom there. You've just filled up that little bit of white space at the bottom there, and I had some spare, so and we'll cover up the here we have our eye candy card finished. Now this one's very similar. You'll have a sheet like this. Now this was the one that you cut that you left sitting at the top here, over here. So we're going to use that, but you need to trim that down so it becomes 3 3/4 by 2 inches. So just chop a bit off the end because you want that sitting in the middle of the card like that with a little border either side. So if you cut the 3/4 of an inch off of that saved piece, it's perfect. It will just fit in perfectly. Now this is the wood grain piece which came from up the top here. So you need to cut an inch piece by 4 inches. Now the reason why I want it 4 inches, I want it to go all the way across that card. So we'll just, I've distressed the edges. I'll get the writing around the right way and pop it in the middle so that you've just made a card. Now this is the Life is about making memories. Now if you remembered rightly, for our first card we use the tag over this side. So for a point of difference I will move the tag over to the left hand side this time. So I'll just slant that across like that. Now this flower I'm going to pop here at the bottom, overlapping the flap, and because I've got that mounted we don't have to worry about the fernery that goes underneath. So I'll just pop that onto my card. I've distressed the edges and I'm going to put on this side here, to fill this white space up, a little bit of fernery, which is the last piece I had left over. So I'll just tuck that underneath, so where I need it to go. And there we have our 2 little eye candy cards finished, and that's your layout side by side finished. Here's the finished layout. Now we've completed all our cards. I will do all my journaling, as I've said, later once this video is done. And thanks for watching my tutorial. Please do join me next time. There's plenty more to come. Be doing lots of different paper lines and also some mail themes and some travel themes as well. So till next time, bye and keep crafting.